And we are live. Welcome to the Profit Zone, where we discuss building wealth one property at a time. I am Don Walker, alongside with my co-host, Justin Carpenter.
No,
And today we are discussing generating passive income through the vehicle of real estate, right? So let's jump into this, man. Passive income. How much money are you making every month?
hey man, IRS might be watching, bro. You know what? Hey man, passive income is a
How's the
great
passive
thing.
income treating you, man?
It's treating me well, bro. It definitely allows me to. It definitely covers my needs.
Yeah.
Right. It allows me to create a snowball effect as
Mhm.
it relates to reinvesting.
Yeah.
Makes reinvesting a little bit more easier, and ultimately it just steps in and just take care of some things, bro. You know.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is, when people think about the word cash flow, passive, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, people have to understand this is, hey, if the property brings in $5,000 a month, it's not necessarily, that's not the cash flow.
Right.
People have to understand, you know, passive income is obviously your gross minus your expenses.
Right.
And
What
it's
you're
not
keeping.
just the mortgage, right?
Exactly. You have
We're talking about, obviously gas bill, electric, trash, and snow.
wear and tear.
We're talking about prime property management fees. So
Mm-hmm.
all of that actually impacts your cash flow, which impacts your passive income.
Most
So
definitely, most definitely. But it's a beautiful thing, and man. Like if you're able to run your operation lean and mean, you'll be able to maximize your bottom line. You know.
yep.
So that takes some skill. That takes some time, and it's an ever evolving thing, right? So being able to get a deal, like you said before, analyzing the numbers, understanding what that return on the investment will be, and just from a management standpoint, making sure you run things lean and mean, or even if you have the opportunity, let's say throughout the construction process, make the home more energy efficient. You know, stuff like that will just it'll all help you from a net operating income standpoint. So yeah, man, it's a beautiful thing, bro. I
I
just want
love it. I love it. So,
what's your thoughts on it?
with passive income, I think it really just covers a lot of liabilities
Most
that
definitely.
I have, and
Yeah.
um, you know, obviously your one of your largest liabilities is the place you lay your head,
Oh
right?
yes.
Your mortgage, or the rent that actually is your primary residence.
Right.
That's typically your largest liability. And um, you know just through my journey of investing, I've been able to basically acquire enough multifamily properties to completely cover my primary residence, right?
Yeah.
So I just think, passive income coupled with, a W-2, whether you have, your own job or maybe your spouse works, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's really the key to building generational wealth,
Most
and
definitely.
the key to getting to the next level, right?
Yeah. I agree
Um,
1,000%.
but as we bag up and kind of just discuss different strategies and different segments of real estate. Um, a lot of people have a strategy of acquiring a lot of single family residents, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's advantages and disadvantages with that.
Most
I
definitely.
know you are very familiar with the single family side,
Yeah, most definitely.
versus, I focus on multifamily. So I kind of want to jump into, obviously, the topic is passive income, but, are you seeing strong passive income on the single family side? Tell me about some of the advantages of acquiring single family properties, but also highlight those disadvantages, man.
Yeah, man. So acquiring single family properties it's a great entry point, especially depending on the deal, right?
Yep.
So many ways that you can acquire property that it could really make sense for you. So for me, I get a little creative. As you know, I get a little creative with how I acquire my properties, as well as how I decide to put them on the market for rent. Right? You might be in an area where your you might be in an area where the standard rent's probably going for maybe in Baltimore 1,400 a month at best, right? If it's market rent, but but that hospital is also down the street from a hospital or down the street from a college, where okay, well I can do a room rental and make that 2 to 3x, just by chopping up that cash flow. So understanding the strategy for me was allow me to be able to, okay, if I get this property, this is how I'm about to build it out, because this is what I want to do with it, right? Whether do I want to make it a room rental to some college students, whether want to make it a room rental to someone that a couple people that's on stable income, or I want to do a travel nurse project. You got to really have that idea, and just working with single family homes. I would say it presents the when you do things like that, it presents the illusion of a multifamily without having that real responsibility.
Yes.
So that's another. I would say I won't say it's an advantage, but it's just something that's different from a multifamily, right? Multifamily you can be is very lucrative also, but there's also if you got a 6 unit, that means you have 6 water heaters, 6 electric meters, six different plumbing situations. So I think some of the advantages again for acquiring single family for me is how I can pretty much get creative with how I produce my revenue, right? But some of the disadvantages though, let's say take away how I go about renting my properties, whether it's Section 8 or room rentals or travel nurse housing. Some of the disadvantages. So let's say I just had that property on the market for 1,300, 1,400 a month. Well, if I have a tenant that doesn't pay, right, and not paying their rent, that means I'm not making any money on that property, right? Yeah, okay, that property may be debt free, but there's still other holding costs. You have property taxes, you have home insurance, you're gonna have a BG&E, you have all these things and these expenses, and Lord forbid something break, So if you have a single family, and you have a tenant that may not be paying, and you're in a tenant friendly state, it can it can it can really throw a wrench in what you got going on, right?
Mhm.
So let's factor in the mortgage. If I have a single family home and I happen to have a mortgage on it, if my mortgage is X amount of dollars a month and that's not getting paid, now I'm coming out of pocket every month, So I really want to make sure I'm able to, get creative on how I rent my properties out to where I can get the max rent. So let's say instead of getting 13, I'm getting 24. Some people may think that's unbelievable. I'm getting 31 from a travel nurse rental. So some people may think you can't do that in an urban environment, but at the end of the day, it's your play. You got to run it. And I don't even like to say play. It's your vision. You got to see it through. And you just got to be confident enough, bro, that it works, that it works for you. So let me ask you on the other side of the token, man, what's some of the advantages and disadvantages as a multi-unit owner? You have more than one. So I know you've seen it all from turnkey to having to do updates. Tell me your side of that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. When you talk about commercial real estate, specifically 5 units and up,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 10 units and up,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful thing. You're buying a business.
Yeah, most definitely.
You are legitly buying a property that is producing 6+ figures,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when you look at that aspect, you are literally legitly buying income.
Yeah. At that
So I
point.
think that's one of the biggest advantages, right? Um, Secondly, we all know going through the underwriting process and purchasing a property, whether it's a single family or whether it's a commercial, transaction, there's a rigorous process,
Very
right?
rigorous
So
process.
you have to present your tax documents. You may
Fully.
have to obviously show up credit wise.
Yep.
Obviously, you have to provide some sort of income for yourself. So whatever that may be. So from an overall process standpoint, if I'm going to be stressed out going through a 30, 45-day escrow, well, guess what? It needs to be for 10 doors, It's going to be the same 45-day stressful process with the underwriting, literally picking out everything in your file
Mm-hmm.
for, obviously that single family and, same process on the commercial side, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, another advantage is commercial real estate is primarily based, and don't get me wrong, there are some factors on obviously your credit. They do look at that, your reserves and your taxes. They
Right.
do look at that, but primarily the approval is based on the asset. How much is this building that you're looking at that you have under contract? How much is it bringing in?
Mm-hmm.
The bank is looking at how much interest can they make off of you, right? They are more inclined to fund that commercial deal that already has tenants in place funding the mortgage, already cash producing year over year. We already see the income. They are more inclined to fund that deal versus the single family deal. And now they're really looking at how foundationally, financially structured, and how secure is your income?
Right, and
You know what I'm
also
saying?
from a single family, how the deal is going to be. You know, can they make money off the deal, especially if you're dealing with hard money lenders. They won't even look at a certain property
Right.
that's a single family if they're not going to make their percentage of interest back on that loan. So yeah, I definitely get what you're saying there.
For sure, man. And I think one of the last advantages is just having several tenants under one roof.
Right.
From a maintenance standpoint, it's very efficient
Yeah.
because if you have issues, obviously that maintenance staff can kind of just service multiple tenants at one time. If you have a roofing issue or a leak in a roof, obviously that may only be impacting three of the tenants or two of the tenants out of the 10-unit building. And you may not have to tear the whole roof off. Versus, let's say you had 10 single family homes and four of them needed new roofs.
Yeah. I was
You
telling
might
yeah.
only be paying $5,000 for, the patchwork on a multifamily, of maybe 5 to 10. But if you got 4, 5 different single families that need a new roof, guess what? All right, now you're looking at north of obviously 40 to 50,000 replacing all of those roofs.
Most definitely.
So I think those are some of the great advantages. On the disadvantage side, there's a lot more operating costs. You have a little bit more expenses with the property just based on how the property is actually designed. Is it HVACs in each different unit? Does each different unit have their own HVAC system where you can pass that cost, monthly utility costs, off to the tenant? If it doesn't, if it has a boiler at the bottom of the basement, if it has one big water heater at the bottom of the basement to obviously source the entire building, that cost is yours. There's no way to split that up. So you're paying for water, you're paying for heat, you're paying for lawn care, you're paying for trash. And I just think it's a larger barrier of entry, obviously on the commercial side, because typically banks are requiring, especially with, rates right now, minimum 20%, but most banks are looking at 25% down to get into the deal because they want you to have some skin in the game. Like I said, you're buying a business, and they want to make sure that you're serious about it, right?
Right.
So again, I would highly recommend. Again, there's a ton of success that you could have on the single family side. I think from a scalability standpoint, you're able to be a little bit more efficient and scale a little bit faster on multifamily.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%, bro. We talked about this the other night.
Yeah.
It's so much more efficient having everybody under one roof, right? I remember I was telling you I was in Baltimore a couple weeks ago. I had to get 2 roofs fixed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm spending time going through 2 different properties versus just one property, right? And I think that's just the whole point, right? You want to scale into that so that you can have all your issues in one place. You can have all of the, anything that go wrong. It's not the whole house that's affected, like you said. It's just a portion of the property where you can just go in and service it and get out the way. No, I agree 1,000%, bro. That's some good stuff. So let me ask you this. So we talked about acquiring property, right? You talked about, putting money down. How important, is to have skin in the game when you are acquiring these properties? A lot of people say, oh, I can buy a multifamily with my FHA.
Right.
Like, what's the disadvantages of that, right? We putting 3.5% down versus 20 to 25% down on a deal. How can that affect somebody that's trying to get into whether it's a single family residence or a multifamily?
Yeah, great question because the strategy and a lot of the communication on social media right now is, hey, leveraging that FHA program for a 1 to 4 unit. And, hey, obviously that could be your first apartment building, right? You can live in one door. Obviously you could rent all of them out. And again, I don't disagree with it. My perspective personally is I want to buy a business, and
Right.
that's what I'm focused on.
Right.
When you're going with the FHA program and you're living in one unit and you're renting the other one out, you got to understand your goals. Is your goals just to live free, or is your goal to make $2,000 or $3,000 a month? And that was my mentality. I was not trying to live in the 1 to 4 unit and kind of just obviously live free and clear. That's great. I was trying to build my portfolio with obviously cash flowing assets. So when you walk into a deal and only put 3.5% down, think about it. I mean, how much income? Let's say the property is $400,000,
And I'm an accountant, brother.
right?
Let's do the math.
3% of that, right?
400,000
So we
times
were talking about what?
3.5%.
20?
Little on 20,000.
Okay, so you walking in with 20,000 skin in the game, right? With mortgage rates right now at 7%, that mortgage is going to be probably $3,900
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? So, based on this property, let's say it's a 4 unit, let's say it's a 5 unit, the property may only be bringing in $5,000. So think about it. You only put 20% down at 3.5%. Don't get me wrong, you own the asset, but what was the goal? Was the goal to live in it, or was the goal to make 2 or 3,000 a month?
Yeah.
And that's what I want people to get more in the mentality of. When you are putting down 20%, you are basically putting enough skin in the game to guarantee yourself $2,000 to $3,000 a month for however you own that property, right? And don't look at the 20% down, because 20% down of the 400,000 would probably be right around 70, 80,000.
Yep.
Don't look at that as that money is gone. You still have that parked in the asset, and that can be actually returned to you by a cash out refinance, a HELOC, home equity line of credit, and that money is just parked. But now the $70,000, $80,000 that you just had sitting around in some 401k retirement account or some regular bank account, it's not giving. I guarantee you, it's not giving you $2,500, $3,500 a month.
No way.
Now this asset is, and you still have that $70,000 initial investment parked right in the bricks, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's my whole perspective on it. And don't get me wrong, I don't shun the FHA program with 1 to 4 units. I think it's a great program to just get into the building, right? But if your goal is cash flow, you're gonna have to reevaluate those numbers.
Yeah, no, I agree, bro. I agree. I totally agree, man. It's just one of those things where it's like, if you're going, it's so important to have skin in the game, right? Because once you're in the game, you're gonna have those same problems.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want to put 3.5% into a deal, and now it's like, okay, well, my mortgage is $3,000. I may be making $5,000 at best. Let's say my HVAC go up.
Right.
That could be a $7,000 job. That's 7 months of your profit gone right there. So what are you really in it for?
Right.
Or, on the flip side, you could have so many expenses, and that's not even right. We're not even accounting for the other expenses. Right, so you may be somebody that's doing that may walk away with $150, $200 a month. So you want to do that, like go through all of that, and have to still deal with the mental strain and the headache to make $200 a month.
Yeah.
So people just got to understand their position and why they're doing it. Because you see a lot on Instagram, bro. Like, people, I got this property, I got the property, but nobody really says the numbers. And it's so important for people to really understand the numbers, because somebody can just say, oh, well, I got this property, but it's like, it's a money pit. It's costing me more to keep it up than I am making money, So
I think you hit it right on the head. You just talked about your mental and your mental health day to day being a real estate investor, right? So you have to really hold yourself accountable and do your due diligence on where to invest, evaluating a deal, and making sure you're buying the right deal. It's not just, hey, I own this asset and I just bought an apartment building. It's about buying the right one, right?
Yes.
Because you want to be able to sleep at night. I think that is the biggest key here. Cash flow is great, but if you have an apartment building that is keeping you up at night, it might not have been as big of a win as you thought it was, right? So, doing your due diligence, understanding how to analyze a deal, whether it's profitable or not, but also really understanding the location. You cannot, in most cases, you can't really trade price and location. Those two are, it's a tough conversation, because that location will protect you from an appreciation standpoint in the future, right?
Most definitely.
It also, kind of mitigates issues with a certain type of tenant pool. based on the location. So, man, I think you had some valid points, man, definitely in regards to mental health and choosing the right property.
Yeah, that's great, bro. That's great, bro. That's good stuff, man. We definitely got to get into that. The tenant pool,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
maybe say that for the next episode. Would you renting the family members, renting the friends? What that look like?
For sure,
You
for
know,
sure.
so
Man, I think this was a great episode. As we wrap up our next episode, I'm very excited about it, guys. Man, we are going to be discussing what you rent to family and friends as a real estate
man,
investor.
that get tricky.
Man,
That get real tricky, real
hey,
quick.
things can get personal, but we're talking about business, right? So excited for the next episode. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Profit Zone with myself, Don Walker, and Justin Carpenter. And we will see you guys on our next show.
Yeah.
We out.